G'day, Clubbies stars, and welcome back to the Legends series. As part of the series, it's always a highlight to go back to where it all began. And I've had huge feedback about Marty Varda's episode, Cora's episode, Hedge. Although Hedge's feedback's mainly about his bad internet, but that's okay. So we're going to get a few more from the old Q days going forward. And that's when footy was real and cigarettes were handed out at quarter time with the oranges as well. So this week, we're going to talk to an original Q member, Adam Phelan. So he's an original member of the team, 10 years plus of service, triple premiership player, and he's got many funny stories to share. He's come recommended to this series, so I'm looking forward to this one. So let's go back to the beginning and hear about some good old days. Welcome to the series, Adam.
Thank you, Anthony, for the lovely intro. It'll be interesting to see where we go and what we discuss during the course of the event.
That's the beauty of this whole thing. Where we go, no one ever really knows when we start. So that's the fun. Have you been watching the series? You've seen any of the episodes?
Yeah. I've seen probably 3 or 4. He said with Paul Corridan the other week and Marty, who's Nick O'Day. So yeah,
good stuff. Well, that's good.
Keeping tabs on.
So you're part of the original pioneering group. So let's get into it. How did you come to be part of the Q Club 18 team?
It sort of really started at Melbourne Uni. It's funny, 2 years before we played our first game in 81, I met Marty at Melbourne Uni through a friend that I was at school with, that he went to primary school with. And I was a North Old boy, or St. Joe's. At 81, didn't play, gave a footy a break for a while, and met Marty and a few Zav boys, Paul Shaw, Pete Window, Richard McIsaac. And anyway, we just all socialised together. So I grew up the Essendon side of town. So all of a sudden I was socialising on the Q side, Hawthorn side. And in the second year, I think 82, Marty got wind of the Club 18 competition. I don't know whether that was its first or second year or whatever. So he started talking about getting a team together, and I just thought, oh yeah, because we'd all actually played a practice game with Uni Reds for some reason, and I think that might have got the juices flowing again. Anyway, during 82, Marty and I sort of both realised that while uni life was great, the studying side of it was a bit of a drawback. So we spent, instead of Fridays at the pub, we started to go to PAs on a Monday. Anyway, there Marty would talk about it, him and his Tom, and he'd gone down to Q, and I don't know what period of time it sort of evolved over, but halfway during that year I left uni, but still socialised. And then the next thing you know, 1983, he said, yep, we've got a team together. So through the old Zav boys at Melbourne Uni, the old Zav boys at Monash and at Swinburne, and connections everyone made, we sort of had a team. And 83, I didn't play the first practice game. We played a mob called Richmond Juniors, and they got spanked, and they were pretty rough side. Anyway, our first game, Andrew Peters, who was another old Zav but a year above us, he got the coaching gig. He was a very, very good player. Nicknamed Itis because he had appendicitis, tonsillitis, laryngitis, meningitis, you name it. There was always a reason he wasn't feeling well. But great nickname anyway. And so 83, we had our first game against St. Kevin's. Struggle, but we came home with a wet sail just to lose. I think it was by about a point. The next week we played that Richmond Juniors team on their dung heap and got smashed again, and realised, oh, these boys are pretty good. But then somehow after that we clicked, and I think we won 6 of the next 7. We came up against Richmond Juniors again at home, and while we were in it at 3/4 time, and we just sort of, I don't know, we just started to know each other a fair bit better then, and we sort of just played really tight footy and got the points. And so I think everyone, like a lot of the time after the game, a lot of guys would go to different footy games, you know, the VFL in those days. I think everyone stuck around that day, and we gave it a real nudge. And then the Shaw brothers decided to open up their home, I think, for a celebration because their folks were up in Queensland. So it just continued on to their place. And I said there was 20 guys that were all, pretty good mates or got along pretty well after not knowing each other all that long. And in those days, things just sort of rolled on. Like I don't know what time we carked it, but I know that, one couple used the master bedroom for things they probably shouldn't have while the parents were away. And
Mum and Dad's day.
The next day, we had a 21st. A guy in the team, Keith Hardy, who went on to be a very highly ranked partner at Ernst & Young, and I think he was managing Leighton Hewitt's finances and all that sort of stuff. I think his dad thought it'd be smart to have the 21st on a Sunday because, people won't be doing too much. Well, about 3 o'clock, we all rock up there, already half cut. And in those days, I think we all drove there. Anyway, during the speech, which he thought would go nice and quiet, Tommy Varda, older brother Marty, started singing the Xavier song, and I think Keith's dad realised it wasn't a great move. But I reckon that win really got things rolling along. And I think, we went along the rest of the year. We made the finals, but got rolled in the first semi. But it just followed on from there. So I'd finished uni by then. I'd started training as an air traffic controller. And, I had a mate come down from there as well, Dave Scowen, nicknamed Gravy. He'd never tell us why. It was Davey loved Gravy, but he didn't tell us where the actual incident occurred that gave him that nickname. And as I say, everyone from every, different spots brothers came down, all that sort of thing. Then we fronted up the next year, and with Club 18, you never know who you're going to run up against or anything like that. And we got a few more players down, so we had a regular squad of about 30 with 24 turning up on any given day. And I think we had two team doctors, two of the boys. Paul Shaw's dad was a surgeon, and Richard McIsaac's dad, was a doctor as well, but he didn't get as many of the patients because he was a gynecologist.
Not early days anyway.
Not early days, but even then, and a girl, Jane Roberts, whose nickname was Yobbo, was our team physio. So it just had a really good following. So and from there it just kept rolling on. Younger brothers came down. There were 5 McIsaac brothers all played one day, so we beat the Dannahurst to the punch there. And just my younger brother came down, and so in 90. I don't think John started. He might have only played 84, 85, but he played when we won in 84, which was our second season, which was against our arch rivals, St Bernard's, on a very windy day down at Powerhouse, Albert Park. And there's a great photo. I had a photo, I couldn't find it, but someone else has got a big photo of it, I think, of the team just celebrating, and there's this black dog that's just come into the photo just staring at 20 blokes jumping up and down on each other but that was the nature. That was pretty much the lackadaisical sort of happy-go-lucky game it was. We played it. You can't not play a game without contact or anything like that. So it was always hard, but we made sure we enjoyed it. So
let's keep going with this a bit, because around your neck you've got a couple of special things there.
Yeah, well, that's the 84 one. That's the 89. I don't know where the 94 one is. It's somewhere around. But the 84 was a great celebration because I had the week off after we'd won it. And so we just sort of every day during the week, we just met somewhere for drinks in town, and we end up, we'd get on the tram and just say this is a free pass, and the conductors just loved it. They thought it was hilarious because we were all, again, pissed for nearly a week, just going on, pub to pub on the trams, and it finished up with a Friday night function at the MCC in one of the rooms up there. It wasn't the long room, but one of the rooms up there, and it was a Friday night, the night before. North Melbourne were playing someone in a final. Anyhow, we had a really good dinner, and on the gas and all that stuff. And then during the course of the night, wandered out onto the stands, and it's a fantastic place when it's dark and no one's there. I didn't have the lights or any security then, so about a dozen of us all went into the centre circle and just relieved ourselves on the sacred turf. Another friend and his girlfriend made the most of the opportunity to enjoy the top deck by themselves. And my younger brother decided to take some of the balloons and streamers, and he scaled up one of the goalposts and stuck it up there on the top of the goalpost. So I don't know what they thought when they came in the morning and there were these balloons hanging up from the top down at the city end of the MCG. But that was, again, just a really good night. 89 was another one because we beat Bloods. Again, Bernards and Bloods were the two sides that we always hated. They were I went to Brisbane in 87 for work, so I missed when I say a season and a half. But when I came back on holidays, now I'd pull the boots on and go and play. But they had the James Range, Brad Robinsons, the Brighton set, the beautiful people, and we just had our loyal girlfriends in their jeans and wind cheaters turning up because we used to have an award called Footy Mole of the Year, so there was always points available if you turned up.
Yep.
The inaugural winner was Joanne McFadden, nicknamed Jozza as the female Jezza. She was a great sport. And I think hotly contested the next year to the late Penny Gallagher, who won it once or twice. And it was, so the girls enjoyed, they didn't watch the footy at all, but they just enjoyed the aftermatch celebrations. And, then we'd go to the Harp or the Skinny Dog, depending on what was happening, that night. But 89 to knock off Bloods with what I think it was the strongest side I think I can recall us putting on the park. There was some really good footballers in that team, and it was a really good day. Actually, I don't even remember too much of the celebrations. I think everyone was just relieved and wrapped. And then further down the track, it was every 5 years we won. We never lost at Granny. The only grand finals we made, we won. So it was, we got rolled in one prelim, if I remember correctly. And other than that, got rolled in a prelim and rolled in a first semi, and that was it. Otherwise, were your favourites?
Were your favourites in each of the matches, you reckon, or were you underdogs?
I don't think we were ever 84 we might have been, but in the others, definitely not 89, I don't think. But it was always going to be, as any competition between two sides, there was never a lot in it in all those years. So, I just think we always pulled out some good performances on the day. Tony Wilson and Ditch McEncroe always seemed to play well in finals, and a couple of other guys that were just always, steady guys that like a guy called Kevin Velthus, who came down from the bush. He was a good, consistent player. The McCormick boys are always good. So it was just, Dave McIsaac would be steady. Richard McIsaac, his brother. Those guys, it was great.
Yeah, good one. And we sort of skipped over that quickly because premierships are obviously the pinnacle, but you're the first person who's actually mentioned the Footy Mole of the Year award. I totally forgotten about it. That was part of the tradition early days when I came along, and so Footy Mole, brilliant.
Yeah. and they got used to it. I mean, it was like some of the, say the traditions. I mean, like everyone, one of the ones that, not so much a tradition, but funny occurrence, like before game preparations, there pretty much wasn't any. It was just you're hoping that 18 people turned up initially to start the game, because people would come in dribs and drabs. It's always pretty funny. But, there was always in the early days the standard, Rocky was the music, and then we always enjoyed something a little bit different. So the Colt would make an appearance on the radio, and a bit of Guns N' Roses. And then I think the best one was I think it was 88. A guy called Warwick Stengard. It was a music student at Melbourne Uni, and he came across Paul Shaw. Paul was boarding at Ormond College, because it's not reasonable to ask someone to travel from Hawthorn to Melbourne Uni 5 days a week. So he had to go into Ormond to study. And I think he met Warwick there, and he came down and played. He was 1 or 2 seasons. He was a nice player and a great, lovely bloke. Went on to be and might still be the conductor of the Victorian Pops Orchestra. Anyway, we talked him into one day coming down, and he bought his very expensive classical violin with him, and he played the theme from Rocky in his footy gear on the violin before the game to motivate us. And while we were sitting around laughing and watching it, this guy in his footy gear, the sliding doors that separate the change rooms slowly peeled back, and these about half a dozen heads from the Theory team stuck their head through and saw this guy playing a violin, and thought, what the fuck's going on here? So those sort of little things were just really, really funny. And I think I was told the Param boys, I think, took about 10 years later, took it one step further when they did the Braveheart.
Yes.
Yeah. So that sort of stuff, just the way it creeps in, enjoy the game, have a bit of fun. I just thought it was hilarious too. And the same thing had happened after the game. Tommy Varda would bring out, because you drink then, because the under-19s didn't play, so the amateurs didn't have anyone we could stay behind, and if we're all happy with Tommy Varda would bring out the crown and anchor board, and he'd get that going before, there was nearly always a 21st or a housewarming to go off to later.
Mm.
So that was just all very, very social. Various people stuck around. Sometimes you went to the footy, sometimes you just stayed at the club.
Beautiful.
So that was the thing I enjoyed a lot.
Ah, terrific. So tell us, so that's great memories about all of that stuff there with the premierships and everything after. Tell us about what sort of player you were, Adam. So we've missed each other. We just missed each other, I reckon, about a year or two off. So I haven't seen you play, but tell us what sort of style of player you were.
Oh, if the back of the footy card would read utility.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, wow, true. I think actually I'm 6'1", but skinny, and I was a left footer. I wasn't quick, but I could run all day. So I would play quite often either anywhere from back pocket to half forward flank, wing, half back flank. And, with some teams, you get to know if, they have the same players, for a couple of seasons in a row. So you sort of knew sometimes you'd man up on them. So I do a bit of tagging depending on who it was. Other times, I'd, just play on the wing and, for a left footer, I wasn't a raking left footer. I think the most I could kick it would be about 40 metres. So I just had to concentrate on hitting the target more than anything else. But I think the best attribute was I was a good mark in front of the pack. I'd long arms, so deceptively with a jump, as long as I got in the pack in the right position, standing in front, I wasn't a come over the top of the pack type player, but if I was in front of my opponent, I'd normally outmark him.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I was trying to work out to get a picture of who. So it's not Mark Bays, obviously. If you're not a raking left footer, that's probably not him.
No. Oh, geez. I don't know. I've never Never looked at it along
No, that's
those
right.
lines.
I've had that question in the past, and people have tried to go.
Stephen Copping from Essendon, there you go.
Stephen
Telescoping
Copping.
arms, number 22. He used to just take marks from, up in front. And other
Was
than
he a
that,
key position? Was he a key position guy?
I
No.
think he might. Well, when you played under Sheedy, you'd play 18 positions. So,
Yeah.
but he was sort of like just a utility who had really long arms that always managed to take his marks from where you couldn't quite pick it. So, and quite unassuming, other than for his porno moustache. I think he had dark hair.
So how many games do you reckon you played?
I think it's around about close to 150. I think because I missed this. I went to Brisbane in mid '87, which was near the end of, because it was the Club 18 season sort of finished at the end of July and the final series during August. So I went up there second half of the season, came back beginning of '88. When I go, 85, I should say, went up. Came back at the beginning of '87 and played the first half, and then Paul Shaw and I went overseas for 6 months. So we missed the second half of that season there. So I sort of missed a year and a half or so just from travelling and work. And then we came back the end of '88. And, 89 was another year that we won.
Yeah. Much of a goal kicker? You played all sorts of positions. How many goals?
Yeah, well, I kicked a few goals. The main one, which is probably the highlight, was 1990 first semi-final against North Old Boys. By halfway through the last quarter, I'd kick my six to put the game beyond doubt. And two things that were funny. It was first of all the North Old Boys coach yelling out, "Who's on that blonde guy?" So that was sort of like a feather in your cap. And immediately that call came out, they demanded, the Q bench demanded that I be dragged. So I was dragged. I had to sit the last 10 minutes of the game on the bench. They couldn't bear anymore. They didn't want me to get another goal. They just dragged me. So that was the nature of Club 18. You knew.
Yeah, don't get too far ahead of yourself.
Any sort of glory you had was always going to be short-lived.
Yeah. So, but were you a North Old Boys fella? Did you say that at the start?
I never played with North Old Boys. I went to school at North, and I finished in 1980. Just played school football, and was thinking about. I thought, no, 81. I just decided to have a year off. We also used to play on the weekends. I used to play a lot of tennis, and I gave that away as well. So first year uni, I was just more interested in just enjoying the social life, if anything.
Yeah.
And went to watch a bit of North Old Boys, because one of the guys that we met, Rich Lindsay, was another dual premiership player. He actually played with the North Old Boys under 19 side that won, and then he came down to Q. And again, he was
couple of premiership player, but also multiple premiership commentator too on the way through. He's
yes, Rich. Well, as I say, just the number of people that I still see today, and this might be sort of like jumping through the format a bit, but I don't know if you can see.
What have we got here?
That, that's my Bucks turn playing Skirm paintball wars.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to, anyway, there's about 30 guys in that.
Yeah.
25 of them I counted last night, all played for Q. And I would probably say I still see 20 of them regularly. One of them was best man and a groomsman. Two of them are godfathers to my children. All that sort of stuff. So that's how tight knit I think like the group back then was and still is. You spoke to Chris Curtin the other day. Chris is sort of like, he's a better say, enabler than I am, but he doesn't want to let go of all the friendships, so to speak. And, he's had a couple of social dues and stuff like that, which is fantastic. And I move heaven and earth to make sure I don't miss one.
Yeah.
And it's, this sort of stuff too. It's just, why not?
Why not? Why not? And so it came about as, if you watched a few, you'll understand, but it came about because the boys couldn't play this year. And so let's get some content going. But as I reckon we're 3 episodes in, we said, why haven't we done this before? This is just makes sense. It's easy, it's fun, and it's lit up. Everyone's loving it. So we should have done this years ago. So that's good. Nicknames? Any nicknames to Adam Phelan? What's the nickname?
Well, the one that Tom Varner and Tom and Marty would normally call out would be Big Nose. That was probably the main one that I can think of. I've got other nicknames, but they're not related to Q. But no, Big Nose was the main one, and then it turned into, as I got older, Big Nose Baldster. But you learn very quickly not to bite. Don't. No. If you say "Don't call me that," then it'll be on your gravestone.
No, there's
Tom and Marty. Yeah, well, Tom and Marty were the instigators of it all, but it was just Tommy just loved the club. He got involved with the seniors a bit too, but like I said, I had my younger brother come down. In the early days, my younger brother used to drive a small green panel van, and green being his and Tom's favourite colour. At the end of training last night, you'd swear the thing was on fire with the amount of smoke coming out of it. But again, that was just the nature of the clubbers and the boys. And then I was just trying to think who else was there in the early days. We've had, guys from, we had, I think at the same time Melbourne had Jimmy Steins come in, we had an Irishman walk off the street, Marty Varda, who'd played Gaelic football against Jim Steins in his early days. He just came in looking for a game, and he premiership ruckman for Q.
Wow, how did he find you guys? I mean, you're training once, if you are.
Yeah, I think he moved into the area when he moved out from Ireland. He had a job. He had a young family, a wife and a young boy called Donald, if I remember correctly. And I'm pretty sure he just saw the footy ground, or he might have looked up in the phone book in those days or whatever, something like that. But he virtually, I think, just walked in off the street. Someone else might know a bit more about it, but he stuck around for a number of years, and gentle giant, lovely bloke. Poor old. I think we were playing Port Colts, and one guy he was rucking really well, so the guy just gave him one, and he just couldn't understand why does anyone do that. But in that Port Colt team, you had Buster Harlan, Paul Goss, a few of these old VFA stars who gone out to pasture, but they still knew how to play footy and how to throw a punch. And I mean, Buster Harlan was. After a couple of years, he sort of mellowed, but I remember early he just said, "No, I'm not drinking with you guys. You're the enemy." He'd have a drink in the club rooms, but he'd stand over in a corner and only talk to a port bloke. But later on, I think he mellowed a little bit. But there were two other blokes, Buffer and Scragger, I think their names were.
Well named.
Both looked like they could have been Three Stooges, short, nuggety, worked on the wharves, all that sort of stuff. And they'd love playing the crown and anchor with us and give us a bit of advice about footy. And they said, look, if you're going to get into a fight, don't try and do the prim and proper thing and shape up. Spit in his face. When he goes to wipe it, punch his hand and break his nose. That was their advice. But we came across various teams that you thought, why you're taking it so seriously, but I mean, who knows? White Line Fever, we had a few guys similar. Andrew Holton, for whatever reason, Andrew, again, lovely bloke, very good friend. He's in the photo. He had a little bit of white line fever. Very good footballer, though. Not as good as his brother Ian, which I just got to put out there. But Holtz wasn't scared of anything. I remember in the Bloods team, he did a front-on tackle there, ruckman, who was about a foot taller and 20 kilos on him, and I think he broke his collarbone and in a completely legit tackle. And the guy went off, and Holtz was just sort of smiling about it because he sort of loved that stuff. But then not long after, he nearly got the team in an all-in brawl because we were playing St. Leo's one time, and they had a guy there at St. Leo's who had half his forearm removed. And the guy could still play. He was quick, and he tucked the ball under his stump and run and whatever. Anyway, that guy also had a bit of aggro about him, and he was chopping off about something. And Holtz just goes, "Don't worry about him. He's armless." And I thought, "Oh, Jesus!" So sure enough,
everyone knew.
All the St. Leo's blokes coming. And we look, good on you, Holtz. Another one on-field incident was quite humorous. I want to say humorous. Stephen James was another player who came to, because we had Holtz was from Scotch. Stephen James came down from Scotch just from people we knew. Stephen, nicknamed Stickman or Bomber, was also another men at Melbourne Uni. And over the years, we worked out there was a thing called bomber clearance. You had to have Stickman's approval to talk to any of his ex-girlfriends or any girl that he was a friend of. Well, some poor bloke from De La Salle didn't know that and talked to a girl at a party. Well, about a week later, he walked off the ground, blood streaming from his nose. He hadn't had bomber clearance.
I think Marty brought that up. I reckon Marty's mentioned that one too.
Yeah. So that was all fun and games like that. But there are a few guys. Ditch McEncrow could get a bit wild on the field, but off the field, pretty much a gentle giant. But
good player, Ditch, wasn't he? I've heard a bit about Ditch over time.
Ditch was very solid in defence. Played good in the ruck, but I think look in there, say the 80s and up to like 89, that era there, Ditchy, Paul Shaw, Richard McIsaac and Rich Lindsay all just took marks in the back line. It was just, very, very solid, very good. And then, you had a number of players. We always had a really good midfield at one stage or another. We started off Kevin Doyle, who was another old Zab that we met through. I met through Paul Shaw and the other Zab boys that went to Monash. Kev was doing the Dusty Don't Argue 35 years ago, and he was obviously a really good footballer. Played, I think, in the Zabs first at school. But I want to say he had an attitude problem. He just had a laziness problem, you might call it. He sort of, played to go on, then all of a sudden you see Kev's walking off the ground and say, "What's the matter, Kev?" He goes, "I want to rest." sit down, get on his Ventolin, have a few puffs, and then light up a cigarette while he's. And then all of a sudden he'd finish his smoke out and say, "All right, I'm right to go back on again." And so he's the only one who took himself on and off. It was hilarious. And then when you're on the field with him, if you led to him or whatever, and he didn't give what you thought was the best option, and you sort of said, "Come on, Kev," he just stopped mid-stride, turn around and say, "Get." Oh, really? So he chastised his own players, but very funny fella, and a county court judge as we speak today.
Really? It probably gives similar serve to some of the crims, I would have thought.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's then to now, there's a number of, like I said, the McIsaac brothers. The eldest one, Andrew, only played a few games for us, mainly to be the fifth McIsaac, I think. He's the associate professor of cardiology at St. Vincent's. Oh. Richard, who was my groomsman, is the associate professor of endocrinology at St. Vincent's. The younger brother, Chris, who played 89 and 94, is the head of the ICU at Royal Melbourne. And the other two in between, we don't talk about Rob and Dave, even though they might have been the two better footballers. We don't want to give them a heads up, but they're the only non-medical Mackaysack side.
Oh, good.
But again, both very good footballers. They were all, really good fun to see. Again, both in the photo. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else. There's a few other Hall of Famers along the way, but I'm just trying to think. It'll come to me in a minute.
Yeah, it'll come to you. But give us a bit of a spiel. I normally do a word association. I'll sort of touch on a bit of that, but give me a bit about Marty Varda. What did Marty Varda mean to you?
I don't think you get anyone more passionate about sport that he. It has to be sport that he loves, but the funny and he just loved playing. He knows his shortcomings and all that sort of stuff, but he gets involved. He loves it. He organises it, and he always does it with the aim of taking the piss. And he does it very, very well. I always laugh that most people use their legs to propel them upwards to take a mark. Marty would use his legs to go from beneath him so he could take a chest mark on the ground. And with his wide girth, it was a very effective tactic because they couldn't get around him. The only problem is if he did it more than 20 metres out from goal, he wouldn't make the distance. But he just loved it. I mean, I think he stopped. He took a mark one time about 15 out from goal and told the umpire he did a place kick.
Oh, really?
It was still legal. You're allowed to do it. So he just stopped the play, chuffed up. I don't think it did. But I mean, again, only he would think about that. Only he would do it, sort of thing. And you'd probably know about. He did the same with footy at Kew. He did the same with cricket at Barnawatta.
Mm-hmm.
He just wanted to, do something that he loves with the mates. So he's very, very loyal like that, Marty. And I think, he gets a lot of enjoyment out of it as well. But yeah, if it wasn't for him, this wouldn't be happening.
We're not talking now if it's not for him. He said that's right.
Exactly.
So Adam, tell me what you do. Tell me what you do the same, and tell me what you do different with your playing career.
Ooh, do the same. Look, I always made as a shift worker. Sometimes I couldn't get to work. Get to training, but and it was always a fair enough thing if you didn't go to training. But I always really enjoyed the training, so I always made an effort to be there, and so that's what I would continue to do. And I had a few excuses for work why I couldn't be there on a Saturday at times during the course of the career because I want to play differently. Probably learned to kick on my right foot a bit earlier than I did. Towards the end, I wasn't too bad at it, but other than that, I think everything. I didn't do any sort of excuse me. All our coaches effectively came from playing staff. Paul Shaw, I'm not too sure who took over from Andrew Peters when he left, but Tommy Varner came in, Paul Shaw, Richard McIsaac, Rich Lindsay. So yeah, they were all good. They all knew the get up, but they all, they also wanted to win. So as Cora found out, there was a little bit of discipline in that, probably like a herd mentality discipline about people were a little bit pissed off or whatever, but not that I'd call it too serious. I think we knew where to draw the line there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what have we missed, Adam? What else have we missed on the way through here? You've covered a bit. I'll be your memory is outstanding.
I'll just see. I know there's for the sake of correctness, the three MDs, and I've taken the O out of O'Day. So there was Mark Doyle, Matt Dalton, and Mick O'Day. All MDs, all old Zavs. They could be hanging upside down from a tree and they still wouldn't handball it to you if they thought they were any chance to kick a goal. any chance at all, don't even bother asking. Or very good footballers, but and it was funny to see if you could get one off them, but they really enjoyed it. What did I say? I've already mentioned the photo back there that we still all keep up with. Ooh, like the G, pub crawl, the footy miles. No, I think that's sort of run the gamut that I can think of Judge, bomber clearance. Today, say Paul Shaw, who is my best man, he's been in Perth the last 25 years. Again, still keep in contact. Spoke to Richard McIsaac the other day, just before the Essendon Richmond game. Always sort of touch base. Michael Manley and Tony Wilson were two of the boys who were a year older than me at Xavier, and were at Monash. They came down, and still very, Willow's a Bomber boy, so we go to the game a lot. Our kids are now in their early 20s, get on really, really well. Mick Manley always asking for a tip, and then you put a line through it. So he's still the sporting journo. Yeah. But no, it's just, and we've had, golfing trips and all that sort of stuff. The Manly Masters golf tournament, it's mainly Q players that are down there, sort of thing. Excuse me. It's great. And just every now and then the catch up with people that you haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's awesome we've got to play. People play footy together, and the friendships then go on for the next 30, 40 after that and plus. So
yeah. Oh, as I said, it's made, even the partners, like Kev Doyle, I mentioned before, the county court judge is married to Cora's sister.
I found that out last week after the episode.
Yeah, he's married to Cora's sister. There was a guy who played 1 year for us in '83, John Somerville. His sister's married to another ex-Q player, Mick O'Hanlon, who played in '84 and '94.
Yeah, I played with Mickey. I played with him early days.
Yeah. See, Mick was funny because he sort of gave it away, and then he had just got back into it again, which was great. Yeah. And that was probably, I could have kept playing, but as I said, the shift work and the travel just sort of took the momentum out of it. But and I thought, well, grand final's probably a pretty good time to go. But I would have liked to have stuck around and seen the Paran crossover, because it would have been good. Because I had an uncle who told me, he said, "Oh, look, just even though because we both played a lot of golf, and he was a very good golfer, he said, play footy for as long as you can." That was his advice, and I was pretty happy that 32 wasn't too bad to keep going. But Chris Curtin, as you know, is a lot more driven, I think, than anybody else. He kept going and going.
He did. He was there for a long time. I think he played his last game. I reckon we worked it out in 2001. He came back.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't think he wasn't playing the season, but we had a wrap up for Mick O'Day and a couple other guys, and Hedge came back, and Timmy Reynolds came back and played a last game just to say farewell. We had 32 blokes on the list that day running through.
Timmy Reynolds. There's another, a couple of guys there that Quinny, Adam Lethlean, guys that don't come across all that often. But Timmy Reynolds is a lovely bloke.
Yeah, cracking fella. So Adam, wrapping up. So what's the message? So the boys couldn't get out there and play this year. They're really a bit of a shame for the boys, and they've lost that connection.
Yeah.
So what's the message you pass from your time into these guys now?
I'd sort of say, don't let this be the circuit breaker that decides for you to give it away. If there's no real fundamental reason for having to give it up, then don't. As my uncle said to me, play for as long as you can. I mean, you're still always going to have those connections, but the longer you go, I think the stronger they get. So that'd be my. And even if it's maybe you might train and play only 3 games of the year or whatever, if you can. do it.
Mm.
I mean, that's the worst that's happened to me out of footy.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. If you do get your finger bent back, get looked at straight away, because after a few years it calcifies and you can't do anything with it. I'm told when it hurts too much, then we'll put a knuckle in, they said. But
okay. Well, only then when it happens. Yep, okay.
Yeah, only then when it happens. So that was it. I had stitches in my head a couple of times, but thankfully, one of our doctors was there to perform the work, but nothing else too much from that. So if you can keep playing, keep it going.
Right. Exactly right. And that's terrific. Adam, I've loved having you on tonight. That's been fantastic. Your story. I mean, as I said, your memory of your journey and your history has been outstanding. I mean, that's a lot of blokes come on worrying they're not going to remember things. Your recall of it is fantastic, and I've loved your story in the way through. 3 times premiership player, and you knew it, and it's clear you've loved it. So I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks very much. Keep it going.
Yeah, will do. So thanks, team. That's we'll wrap up for this week, and I'm wrapped to have Adam on. I love hearing the old stories, and as I said, we'll go back to more original cues, because I think it was a bit edgier back then, and there's a lot of stuff that happened that probably doesn't happen today. So that's all good. So I appreciate again, Adam, you coming on tonight. You are a clubby legend. Thanks, boys. Signing off.
Thanks, Ad. Cheers.